Hi there, Scorpio. I'm EllaAradia, and welcome to your June 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Scorpio water signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's not going to resonate for all of you, but what I do find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Scorpio signs. So it may show up in different areas of your life in slightly different ways, but the theme is always the same. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Scorpio, let's jump in. I always like to tune into the energies first, Scorpio, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I always like to see what the universe shows me. I'm seeing some kind of restructuring going on, particularly in, let's say, the career area of your life. And it feels a little bit to me a moment of, let's say, stepping out of the shadows in some way, moving into a place of more visibility. For some of you, moving into, I feel, leadership roles. But some kind of, restructuring that's going on here where there is some kind of process around, first of all, aligning your purpose with your career, with what you do. It feels like it's very kind of interlinked to me, but also beginning to work in a way where you're not working behind the scenes anymore. That's what I'm feeling. It's almost like this sense of working behind the scenes, and you're being asked to, I feel, step out of the shadows into the spotlight. And some kind of restructuring happening here, which, will bring you into a place of, I feel, financial stability. Some of you may be leaving a job where you've worked for somebody else and you're stepping out on your own. Some of you may have put your own plans, your own project or something like that on hold. And you may be picking that back up and adjusting things, restructuring things. Because, there is something that you are meant to kind of step into right now, I feel. And it's going to be very aligned with your purpose, with your overall energies, the Five of Pentacles. This is a card of sometimes instability, moving on from something, or feeling like you have to, let something go. And really what you're letting go of is something which perhaps hasn't been bringing you, first of all, what you want, but also what you actually need, particularly in terms of, let's say, finances. Pentacles are earth element, and they strongly connect to career and home, finances, that area of your life. And when you look at the figures on the cards here, their clothes are in tatters. And so this is all about, as you step into, let's say, this spotlight, it's about moving into that in the right energy in yourself. Moving forward, knowing your worth and your value and, what you have to bring to the table here. Because I just get the sense of some of you, may have been working a job in, a company, and there's something that, first of all, isn't emotionally fulfilling. It may not have also been bringing you that financial abundance that you need. And so there is a shift happening in a slightly different direction. I feel like you've been in, kind of a long tunnel of introspection. And we often have, those waves of kind of going inwards, expanding back out again. And when we go inwards, it's a moment of going within, finding answers, connecting to our truth. What do we really want? What do we really need to do? And then when that becomes clearer inside of ourselves, that's when we have this kind of moment of expansion where, we start to take action. And I feel like this is you, moving on from something that, really hasn't been bringing you first of all, what you want, but also what you actually need in life in terms of, paying bills or having breaks or whatever that looks like, that whatever needs you might have. Because the idea here is that we have, more money than we need for all of our needs. Because it's not just about paying bills, it's also about having quality of life as well, being able to take that trip or, visit that place, connect to, other people as well. Money is really just energy, and it's a tool to, that allows us to really do what we want to do. That's what abundance is, the ability to do what we want to do when we want to do it. So what lies in your recent past is death. This is a card of some kind of transition. Very much these energies that I'm talking about now, this is a card of a rebirth. It's not a negative card. A lot of people pull the death card and think it kind of means something negative. It really just is a rebirth. So that's all about shedding, old versions of yourself. Letting go of, limiting negative beliefs that might be holding you back in some way. And in terms of career, I feel this is about letting go of, let's say, outdated versions of what you originally thought success was. And I think it's always helpful to, sometimes ask the universe to bring into you other versions, other formulas for success, other than the one that you have, been currently holding or holding in the past. Because there's some kind of restructuring, and it almost feels like a reinventing of yourself. That's why I say for some of you, you may have started something, put it to one side, you're picking it back up again, but there's some adjustments that need to be made. It's some kind of reinventing yourself, where in some ways it's almost like you're making a comeback in what you're already doing. Your current energies is the 9 of Swords. This is often a card of worry, anxiety, your thoughts kind of keeping you up at night, where you can't sleep. You're just kind of ruminating over and over and over. And sometimes, when it's related to abundance and money, and when things get difficult, it's very hard not to go into this state of, worry and anxiety and lack. But actually, the thing to remember here is none of that is going to change your situation. None of that worry is actually going to help. With your feelings towards your situation, the 3 of Cups, that's a card of community. Getting yourself out there, connecting to others. Sometimes this is also a card of leaning on, the people around you, close friends, and, getting that support, not being afraid to ask for that support as well. The 3 of Cups is a very social card, but it's also about, getting out there, connecting to others, going to places, going to events. And, that may be part of, these next steps forward to you. It might be a little bit about, networking and, actually getting yourself out there, marketing yourself, getting that visibility. But it may require that, you take some kind of action here, because the Three of Pentacles, this is the Three of Cups, but the Three of Pentacles is actually, what I always call the networking card, where, that is about you, first of all, recognizing what you have to offer, your skills, your abilities, the things that you can bring to the table, which really, make you very special and unique. And it's all about really honoring and acknowledging and recognizing that in yourself, and connecting to others, with sometimes a common goal together, working together as a team. And it might just be, getting that visibility, connecting to others, informing people of, what it is you do and what you offer, but really making sure that you are, standing in that energy of really owning, what it is that, really makes you special in terms of your gifts and your abilities here. So in the challenge, we have the Seven of Cups. Often a card of options, possibilities, potential, but sometimes it can represent illusions. That's what the cloud represents that is around all the cups there. Emotional energy, which is this energy of, illusions, because every cup has a potential in it. And it is important when you move forwards to make sure, whatever ideas that you have, that you are actually, they can be things which can be, grounded in reality. So moving forwards from, that place of, let's say, grounded truth, not following, illusions or kind of fantasies and things like that. In the hidden influence, the Eight of Swords, this often represents an energy of feeling stuck, because we have the Nine of Swords. The swords represent our mental landscape, and it's all about our thoughts, information, limiting negative beliefs, fears, worries, that type of thing. And it might be that is what the shift is that's required here, because with the Five of Pentacles, it feels a little bit like what has gone on in the past, may have been an experience that you were attracting in order to really step into your power in some way and know your worth and your value. And that is perhaps for some of you what this Death card is all about, because I do feel a strong invitation to, really kind of put yourself out there this month and be seen, but really stand strongly in your power in that way. And it feels a little bit, that is what, that there is a calling to let go of an old version of yourself, an old way of being, an old way of working, letting go of, that old outdated idea of what success meant, and changing things completely around in a way that aligns with your purpose, in a way that it brings you not just that emotional fulfillment, but the financial security as well. And so there might still be, with this Eight of Swords here, there might still be a limiting belief that is still holding you back here. So it might be a moment to, have a feel into that and see if there is anything that is still kind of, keeping you from, really stepping into your power and being seen here. And just always remember, whatever that is, whether it's a fear, or, you know, like I said, a negative belief of some kind, that can all be changed. It can all be reframed. And the best way to do that really is to actually explore what that is. You know, explore the negative belief, explore the fear, and really kind of pull it to pieces and have a look at it, because, you know, it's something that you can reframe. In your advice from the universe, the 10 of Swords, the ending of, I actually feel like this is a very positive thing to see here, because I feel, you know, it's been a tough time, you know, and at the same time, whatever challenges have been, you know, in your life in the last month or year or whatever that is for you, it's leading you to this point, and it has led you to rethinking things, restructuring things, putting, you know, letting go of things which aren't working, anything that feels draining, anything that is not emotionally fulfilling, anything that isn't, you know, giving you that abundance that you really need and desire. And I do feel like it's been a challenging time, but with this, you know, in the advice position, you know, this is something that is coming to a close, and it's not something you're going to revisit. You know, this is the energy of something is over and done with, a little bit like the figure on the card. Sometimes it can represent being stabbed in the back, but it's like a death, and we have death there as well as a transitional energy for you. And in the background, a new horizon, a new beginning, new possibility. And, you know, that to me really represents a new chapter that's about to begin for you. And let what isn't working fold. Let it complete is what I feel the advice from that card is. You know, don't be afraid to let go of anything that you don't feel in alignment with anymore, is draining your energy or feels unhealthy in some way. And just allow that to complete its process, because, you know, there isn't anything that feels good about this card. It just feels like heaviness and a challenge, you know, difficult times. It's something that, you know, really hasn't been working. But in the background, there's a seed of a new beginning for you. So very related, I feel, for many of you around career. This might also be simply, you know, about self-development. If it relates to love, I feel like that's fairly self-explanatory. It's, you know, moving away from a connection that you've been putting a lot into and not receiving a lot back. And it may be for some of you that someone has recently left your life, or you felt like you had to move on. And there may have been a betrayal in that, or a feeling of being betrayed, not necessarily somebody cheating, but this often represents, you know, betrayal or feeling disappointed, and a painful, challenging ending. But wrapped up in that, again, are those powerful lessons where, you know, you are being asked to, you know, really step into this new version of yourself with your worth and your value here. And just trust that, you know, whatever has come to a close, it is actually for your highest and best, and it makes space, you know, for new beginnings, new possibilities for you. And the challenge might be right now just being open to that. And of course, you know, before you move forwards, particularly with this card in the challenge, just make sure that, you know, whatever choice you make, it is really aligned with your heart and what you truly want. In your outcome, we have the Fool, so some kind of brand new beginning for you. And, you know, whatever this is for you, even if you can't see the destination, I really do feel this is leading you to a brighter place, a happier place, a more whole and complete place in yourself. But it may involve taking a little bit of a leap of faith, because the energies of the Fool are about, you know, not fearing the unknown, following your heart, and just trusting that if you follow your heart, the universe will line up people, places, opportunities, you know, in your favor. And it's all about, I feel, just approaching that with curiosity and an open heart. So Scorpio, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.